Welcome to a Little Tom Foolery, Rob Little and Tommy Ryman. A podcast filled with laughs and gaffs, guffaws and haws, and maybe a picture of a dog. A little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery. A little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery, a little Tom Foolery. Fools!
Good morning, good day, and good evening. Welcome to a Little Tom Foolery with your host, Rob Little, and our best ever side co-host, comedian Tommy Ryman.
Hey, it's good to be back again. So excited. And Rob Little is with us as well. How are you, Rob?
Kicking butt, taking names.
All right. That's what it's about.
This is your first time logging into a Little Tom Foolery. We are two comedians, national touring headliners. We work all over the country and we are best buddies. And so we like to get together and shoot the crap, and we talk to other comedians sometimes. And it's usually fun and outgoing, and we just have a great time. We talk about dogs, talk about comedy. We're just here to have a good time, and we hope you enjoy what we do.
So
we usually started off,
joining.
yeah. So we call it Fool Nation, folks, and we are proud for you to be here with us and join our Fool Nation.
Look at Rob use these words.
No, and I'm so excited. I've been waiting to be the first to say it. Tommy always remembers it.
Welcome, Fool Nation, the fools.
Like when people comment on our YouTubes, I like any of the videos, they always like have a comment about something we talked about. And every comment I replied to, I put fool in it somehow, like, oh yeah, quit fooling around and get back to work, or I always put something in it, you know? And then when you come up with Fool Nation, I was like, son of a gun. I wish I would have thought of that. But so it sounds like I saw a bunch of your Instagram pics. Sounds like you had a fun week, man. Tell me about it.
Fun weekend. My show, I opened I did a set at Steve Gillespie's album release show, which was tons of fun. He was at Sisyphus Brewing. He's a very funny comic. Was on Conan and stuff. And then my wife and I, Megan, went camping with all three dogs, and it was so fun. About an hour north, and it was a Sunday, so most people had left, so we had like the whole camp place to ourselves. And it was rad. We made hot dogs over the fire. I reheated some macaroni and beans. We had fresh raspberries.
Macaroni and beans?
Yeah, it was a weird combo for side dish. I like beans with hot dogs, baked beans.
Right.
Megan does. She just wanted macaroni. So I have the little propane stove. It was great. I set up the tent. We had an air mattress in the tent, and then it deflated. So we really roughed it.
Of course. Do they ever stay inflated?
It should have. This one, because I have to like drag the whole tent to the car. I need an extension cord. I always forget. But because it's glamping, it's like a full queen air mattress. But I got a new one, and I just didn't shove the thing in to plug it. There's like a little plug that to keep the air, and I just didn't push it all the way in. And then when I was putting some other stuff, it must have undid. So when we finally went into the tent, it was like midnight, pitch black, and it was like half deflated. And I was like, I can't get everything to the car. I mean, I probably could have, but we just.
So how big is your tent? Do you do you keep the dogs in it with you guys?
They were all on the bed. It's literally, the bed was the size of the tent, so they just hop in there. And it was a debacle.
And then you wonder why it doesn't stay inflated. All their nails going through.
Yeah, exactly. The Great Dane just popped it like 15 times.
Can I back up a little bit? I just wanted to say, I love Steve Gillespie, and I think we should bring him on as a guest one time, and we could talk about his new album.
Yeah, I will let Steve know. I did Steve's podcast. He has another podcast with a guy, Robert Burrill. I'm forgetting the name of it, but we could do that. I'm sure I could get him on.
Yeah. Did he announce what the name of his new disc is, or new album is?
He did. I'm forgetting it too.
Okay. Well, we'll find out when we bring him on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
We're not here to promote Steve Gillespie.
No, stuff. I know, but we're here to always support other comics, and I mean, you've been doing a lot of that lately, so that's cool. And then the camping thing, man, dude, you're a better man than me, because I can't do that anymore. The last time I went camping was when I got engaged.
Oh wow, that was many years ago.
Did I ever tell you that story?
I think you have, but why don't you tell the podcast?
Okay, so I was 30 years old, I think, and I'm 48 now. So that's the last time I went. But the girl I was going out with, it was all her idea about the camping. And she's like, I'm going to invite our friends. And I'm like, cool, I'll invite friends too. And then she's like, I'm going to tell my mom. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll tell my mom too. She doesn't know she's inviting all these people, but I had already invited everybody and everybody knew I was going to propose.
Oh, no.
So she played right into it.
Yeah.
It couldn't have went better. So my idea was when they all got there, I was going to be out fishing because we were staying on a lake and I was going to be fishing, and then I was going to be barefoot and I was going to pretend I stepped on something and cut my foot. And then I had a couple ketchup packets in my hand. And so I'd ketchup all over my hand. And then I had the ring in the other hand.
Oh.
So all of a sudden I'm out there fishing and I just fall and I'm like, ah, and I'm like kind of screaming. And I'm like, I stepped on something. She's like, what's the matter? And she comes running and I'm like, something's in my foot. I feel like I stepped on a piece of glass or something. And I'm down on one knee right now. Right.
Nice. Yeah.
And then I come up and my hands looks like all blood with the ketchup in it. So she freaks out and turns to run. And I'm like, no, come here. You gotta help me. And then I just went down and I act like I pulled it out a little bit. And I come up with the ring and she looks at me and she goes, did you step on a diamond ring? And then I proposed to her and she freaked out, turns around, and everybody's already standing there with like champagne and cake. Like she didn't even look the whole time, but they had already set it all up in that time. Wow. And it was amazing. It was such a fun way and to like freak her out that I'm actually hurt, and then it ends up being the ring. And she said yes. And then that didn't work out.
Oh man. That's a good proposal story.
It was a fun proposal. And
it's really elaborate.
Motions accepted at the front door.
Whoa.
Whoop.
Sounds like the mailman's here. You've got mail. That's cool. So did you do any crazy stuff for Megan during this little camping trip?
I mean, I didn't propose. We were already married, but we just we hiked and hung out and we sat by the fire. It was just really relaxing and chill. And then the next day we went to the state fair. And
this was in Minnesota, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, the state park was like literally an hour from our house. So I was like, oh, this feels close. Because I was also like, this was the first time we took 3 dogs. So I was like, if this goes awry, we can just load the car up and go back home.
Do you think they're like, did something happen to our house? Like, why are we out here?
They loved it. Minnie was actually really good. We set her little blanket out and tied her to she had a big tie on a tree so she could walk around. But she did knock over her food instantly into the dirt. So she likes her kibble in the dirt better. And then she knocked over her water bowl. She's very clumsy, but they love being outside. They're like, oh, sometimes they make us go back inside, but this time we get to stay outside forever.
Right.
Until we shoved them into a tent.
They're like, did you guys do something bad? Is that why you're made to stay outside?
Yeah, wait, do we live here now? But that's good to know too, if we're ever homeless, that they'll be like, okay, it's okay.
Oh yeah, they're cool with it.
They're like, that's fine.
Did you ride any rides at the fair? Or do they have rides?
See, Megan doesn't do roller coaster, but we did like the sky ride, which is like a thing that just kind of goes over the fair. So we do that. Right. But she can't go on like spinny ones. And then we did a Ferris wheel, I guess, which spins, but slow spin.
Right.
So, that was fun.
Oh, that's cool. So no scrambler or gravitron for you?
No, Megan would vomit all over fairgoers. But our guest is in the waiting room.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, man.
All right. He's joining. Oh, wow.
There he is.
The Pete Lee.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Yeah. All right.
Yes.
There's always that moment when you start a Zoom where you're like, where everybody's like, hey, and you're like, I hold on. You feel like your parents, like you're Zooming with your parents. You're like, hey, hold on. Is the video on? It's like, no, it's just a picture of the cat, Mom.
You're ready to go though.
Well, introduce our guest, Tommy.
we have the amazing Pete Lee is here on the Little Tom Foolery podcast. You know him from his new Showtime special, tons of Tonight Show appearances, Comedy Central, and just all around wonderful human being. Pete Lee, thank you so much for being with us, Pete.
You guys, I'm so happy to be here. This is so fun. Like, by the way, Rob, your background is so perfect. I know some people are listening to this as just a podcast, and then some people will see video, right? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Right.
So for the people at home, for the people at home, like everybody listens to this at home, like you sit there with your living room radio, like it's 1950s. You have a background that says memories, and then it has all sorts of pictures of you and people who you care about, and it's literally, and then it's got like a wood board with like exposed wall, and it says like friends, family, fraternity, and some other F word that funny. Okay. All right. I was like, I can't see the other F word, but it's literally a wall that's like a human, or it's like a wall that's a hug. Basically.
It really is. That's how I felt about it, because I had all these extra pictures, and I'm like, what am I going to do there? I'm not going to put them in a book because nobody's going to open the book. So just make this wall. And I saw something like it on Pinterest, and I feel like you and I would relate on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Especially after seeing your set, I was like, whoa, we have a lot in common.
Yeah, you had me at Pinterest.
Rob's house was decorated by my grandma, so they have the same from her Pinterest board.
That's so funny. Yeah, and then you have your Price is Right tag on there, right?
I do.
Is that what that is? Yeah,
I've gone a couple of times, and I got called up once when Drew was the host.
Yeah, I remember seeing a clip of that. I think it was on your Instagram or on your Facebook or something like that. And that's so cool that that's right there. I don't know if you can
see under it too. There's all my driver's license since I was 16.
Zoom in.
Wow.
Let's get those.
Yeah, zoom in. Let's get those numbers. Do you know how many? Do you have any fake IDs you could sell right now? At least 3 of them would be current enough that you could do that.
Right.
That's great. I one time I opened for Drew Carey, and he did this bit that I thought was so great about how the research team at Viacom did all this research on what people like about The Price is Right. And they like had this big meeting, and they called everybody in, and they're like, we've figured it out why people are drawn to The Price is Right. They love cash, cars, and trips. And he's like, oh, wow, that is revolutionary. He goes, have you ever just gone to the line at Price is Right? Like literally it's people going like, I can't wait for cash, cars, and trips. Like he's like, just listen to the audience. Like before the show starts, they're like, cash, cars, and trips, cash, cars, and trips. And
I'm surprised they didn't add Plinko into that. That seems like that would have been
Plinko is amazing.
Yeah.
But you've been, now I'm interviewing you. You've been a fan of The Price is Right for a long time. If you've gone several times and all that, right?
I've gone only twice, and I did it with friends. Like the time I got called up, I didn't even want to get called up. I went for a friend's birthday, and she wanted to get called, but she was so shy. You know, have you ever gone?
I've never been, and it feels crazy that that feels like I don't know.
That's what you do. You move to LA, and then you have to go to The Price is Right. That's what Megan and I did. We were audience members in there. Come on,
all right.
Pete.
Pete, when they bring you in, they go, "What's your name? What do you do?" And if you're not interested in like 5 seconds, they move right on. And she just froze, and I'm like, I'm a comedian. And I just ran away, you know. And so
you were their dream audience member.
They're like, this guy's gonna jump around so much on stage, it's gonna look amazing, and he loves cash, cars, and trips.
And I almost got the car too. That was I didn't almost. I lost immediately, but I had the option of getting it almost. So.
Let's
talk. We're not about me, Pete. We're here for you, buddy.
Stop interviewing us, Pete. He's taking over this.
I know. No. By the way, Tommy, I'm going to interview you now. You sent me a picture of that office when you got it done via text message, I believe, and it looks really cool. And
thank you.
I don't think I accurately described how cool it looks in my text back to you. I think I was like, really cool, and then I was like, exclamation points, love that. But like I don't know how to communicate that. I don't even know if I'm doing it now, but I really love the red. And
I was really proud.
And I like that it's like a comedy museum and of all the stuff that you love.
Oh yeah, I get my memories board's coming in the mail, and then I'll switch it to Rob's. But mine's gonna be future memories, so I just have a bunch of pictures that haven't happened yet. It's really cool. It's expensive.
Yeah, it'll be like reverse Back to the Future where they fade in over time instead of fading
exactly.
out.
Pete, I need to point something out right away. Okay, first of all, Tommy's got a million questions for you, but there's something that like stood out. I like technical things when it comes to comedy, and you do this thing I've never seen anybody else do. You hold the mic off to your left.
Yeah.
Or when you're on stage, it'd be your right. So you're on, I don't know why I turned around, like I couldn't have done it right here, but you hold it to your right. And so you can see your face.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of guys eat the mic or they keep it like right here, or you know what I mean? Or straight out.
It's so interesting that you noticed that, because there are sound engineers at comedy clubs that they'll be like, hey, great show, Pete, but could you put the mic in front of your face? And I'm like, but I can hear it in the monitor that it's picking me up. And they're like, yeah, but we have to turn it up a little bit. And I'm like, well,
so do your job.
Yeah, is that hard to turn it up a little bit?
Right.
I mean, because a lot of times lately I videotape my shows and I have a lavalier mic that's right here, and it perfectly picks me up. If anything, like it's a tiny mic and this is a huge mic, and this one, it like it picks me up too much being here. Like it'd be better if it was down here. So I'm like, look, just considering microphone technology, I'm sure that this mic can pick me up here or there.
Right.
There have been times where, like, you know, when you get like pretty much one of the only variables to our job is how loud you are or how soft you are. And it's crazy how many times venues will mess that up. You have to have lights that shine on you and a mic that works. And then we get to places and they've had the same mic for like 14 years, even though they cost $89 at Guitar Center. And I've had it before where they turn me down and I have to like really eat the mic.
Yeah.
And I feel so uncomfortable all the time because I'm like, people can't see me, you know, like and I kind of shift like wherever the majority of the people can see me. Because I think that have you ever delivered a joke to this side of the room, like to this side of the room, and then
no.
No. No. He's like, I delivered it to the whole room. But have you ever delivered a joke to this side of the room and then this side doesn't laugh as hard? It's like you have to be delivering it to them. Like they have to see you. And there's this connection that you're making with everyone. And I tried to, I'm dating a new girl and she was just asking me about comedy. And she was like, she's like, what are you doing when you're up there, kind of a technical standpoint? And I was like, you know, when you go up to somebody at a party and you're meeting them and you're giving them your energy and you're like, you can feel a connection. I'm like, you're doing that with 300 people.
Right.
And you're like reading their energy. And then I was like, a lot of times when it comes to crowd work, sometimes I don't know, have you ever been in we've all been in a conversation before where the person is like, you can just tell what they're thinking. They're thinking like fucking hurry up, you know, or like, or I gotta go, or I need another drink or whatever. We're kind of reading that from 300 people. And so sometimes when I'm riffing, I feel like I'm just reading the mind or I'm like reading their minds and then telling them what they're thinking back to them. And that's why jokes flow so much better. It's almost like we're in a writer's room where they don't know that they're writing for you. And then you're amazing them by just telling them what they're thinking. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why I do that, is just because I want to connect. And I read this thing recently that said, connection is the only real drug in life. It's the only real drug that love is connection, you know, friendship is connection. Your whole memories board behind you, Rob, is connection. And all other drugs are just simulating that. So cocaine simulates human connection, like heroin, you know, and so I think that we're kind of honest addicts in a way, in that like we're addicted to that connection. Like we have to get up in front and we have to connect with 300 people at a time or more or less, you know, depending on what levels of COVID Delta there are out there.
Like 300 people. Wow. Your
Yeah.
shows are so good.
Yeah.
I get that a lot too when I play a lot in the audience. I don't like calling it crowd work because I feel like that's such a negative. Everybody always thinks it's a negative thing, but I just call it playing with the audience. But like, you can read people and take them so far, and people ask me all the time, does anybody ever get mad at you? And I'm like, no, I don't. And they're like, how? And I'm like, well, I can tell when they're starting, like I've taken it too far, or I'm at the level. It's like, just back off or let them go for a minute, or make fun of yourself, whatever. Just leave them alone at that point. But that's an easy thing for us, I feel like.
Well, I mean, like to do comedy, I would say the majority of us have a very high level of social intelligence, and like varying levels of IQ, and you know, high levels of EQ. And then it always surprises me, like the comics that really go after the crowd. And like one of my best friends, his name is Ryan Reese, and he does warm up for Seth Meyers and for Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. And he's done crowd work for everybody from like Rachel Ray to like Fox News and stuff. And his style is that, like, he really goes after people, and every word that comes out of his mouth on stage, I would be so uncomfortable to say to somebody, but he'll just be like, "You, ma'am, what do you weigh?" And like, I'm like, "Oh God." But it's his personality, and he's from Long Island, New York, and he gets away with it. But I'm just like, oh my God, I would die to make somebody feel uncomfortable and then make the crowd laugh that way. But he loves it, and it's funny. And one of the reasons why I like him to come out and open for me is because he's just so different, and he kind of tasers the crowd for 20 minutes, and then I get to go out there and be like, hey, but it's all better now.
Right.
It's a good difference. Did he open for you on your special or warm them up?
He did, yeah. Actually, the voice that's like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Pete Lee,"
okay,
that's him. And I was really happy that he got to, you know, be in the special. And he's actually making a documentary about being an opening act, being
nice.
a warm up comic, and because it's a lost art, and it's a specific thing that is very hard to do, and there are only a couple people that do it extremely well. Yeah. And I've done, since I moved to LA, I've done a couple warm up gigs and realized, holy crap, that's so hard. And also, like, all the warm up comics, they kind of communicate together, and they'll be like, I got this gig. What, like, can we devise a strategy together? And then they figure it out. So it was interesting for my special. Ryan, I found out from another couple of the warm up comics that they like all came together, and he was like, how should I do this for him so I set the table and I can still be myself but not piss everybody off in his crowd? And
they were like, ask how much everyone weighs. Every single person. You go through that audience, and then you give Pete how much the total weight is, and
then you go on. Yeah, I mean, him opening for me is literally a metaphor for my parents' divorce. Like things get bad, and then I go in and I'm like, can I make everybody better? And then that's my personality.
That's so good. That's a good dynamic. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, openers. The first like warm up act I was ever introduced was Jimmy Pardo, because he used to be Conan's warm up, and then that changed around. But it is an interesting art.
It is, and Jimmy Pardo is perfect for that because he's so bing bang boom, you know, and his crowd work is so insane. And I remember when he shifted to doing like the Conan podcast, and I think his life got a lot easier.
Yeah,
you know, he didn't have to throw out T-shirts to audience members.
Exactly.
I was learning. I was going to do a lot of that too when I lived out in LA, and I got hooked up with Roger Lundblade. Do you know him?
Oh yeah,
he did a ton of it.
He's like he's like one of the legends. Like
right.
he can warm up a sitcom audience where it's like an 8-hour warm up where they keep going down and it keeps going back up, and they have to stop down, and he can literally entertain like an audience forever.
What I learned from him was bring candy.
Yeah, treats and prizes.
Tossing out candy the whole time.
By the way, I'm dating a girl who's amazing, and I went through a breakup this spring, and that sucked, but you know, she's a good person, blah 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 blah, everything that you say that's diplomatic. And then my new girlfriend Nicole she's so fun and so awesome, and like she's funny, and like have you ever met somebody that's funny that doesn't even need to be funny? Like I'm like, you're so amazing in all these different ways.
Every
like,
girl I've ever dated.
yeah they're like, how are you funny? But every time that I do a podcast, she just like, she knows that my phone's next to me, she knows it's gonna light up, and she knows that if it's her name, I'm in the middle of the podcast, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna start doing this. And
oh no, is she doing it right now?
well, she's not doing like needy, like you know, like any type of stereotypical text. It's not that whatsoever. But she knows there's going to be a magnetic pull, and then as soon as I open it up, it's always tits. It's like it's always tits of some sort, like the ones that she sent me, and I never show them, but like I'll tell you, this is like an unzipped sweatshirt, like a hoodie with just like the most tits without nipple, and she's just doing it to like sort of like be really sweet and cute, but also to fuck with me during a podcast.
Yeah.
So that there's one little moment where I go, like, we're all like riffing on something, and I'm like, oh.
I could see in your eyes too. I was like, "Oh, Pete's. I see what he's looking.
He's looking at tits.
I know
right
that
now.
look.
Yeah, Pete's getting some tits right now.
Pete's girlfriend got a new sweatshirt, and she's excited about it."
At the last podcast that I was on, we drafted a response together, and maybe this could be like a fun little segment that we do of what I reply to her. It says, "Do you need some podcast tits?" is the message underneath. Tits. All right.
You look chilly, honey.
You look chilly, honey?
Yeah, you might want to pull that up.
You look chilly. All right.
No, be like, but I got my podcast balls right here, and then now send her your balls.
There you
Come
go.
on, Pete.
I was trying to stay a little cleaner, but yeah, we can go that way for sure.
Well, he could say beach balls. He must have balls in the room, right?
I've got my beach balls.
You want to be family friendly.
Just undo your zipper a little bit and just show a little bit. Ball cleavage or something.
So it's funny, I haven't sent her a dick pic because I'm just not a dick pic guy. Yeah. And but I did. We were FaceTiming, and then I was just in my underwear, and I was like, I was in a hotel, and I had it like propped up against the TV. You know, when you're like trying to figure out a place where you can set your phone in the room, and I just had it propped up against the TV. And then I was going to like put pants on, and then she took a screen grab like right when it was like just me with underwear, and she sent this to me, and she's like, "By the way, this is the content I want." And so I did send her a picture of just like me in my underwear, and I was like, "Ooh, this is scandalous."
Let me ask you this, Pete. Do you notice that you're getting more attention from ladies with the scruffy beard?
It's funny. I do need to shave a little bit,
but it makes you look so much more manly.
Oh yeah, right? This is new me. This is like, you know how Drake says like, "Oh, you don't want to see the old me,"
right?
I'm like, that's what I'm like. No, I like to keep the scruff. I think that it adds a little bit of a different dimension to me. I also. I don't know. Like I felt like when I taped Tall, Dark, and Pleasant, my Showtime special, which everybody should check out. Please. I feel like that's like a snapshot of who I am, and that's also a snapshot of like a lot of that is like my inner dialogue, you know, that I'm having with myself. Like I think that I've done a lot of therapy. I've done a lot of work on myself. We all have cool friends. Like I've become a little bit cooler. But that is the voice that I'm talking in. Oh God, I just burped the worst. I'm drinking this carbonated water, and all the carbonated water was like, "We're coming out now." But I think that like people always go, "Oh, you're stage character," and I'm like, "Well, that's me." That like I'm literally being very honest because that's how I think. Like that's the voice that I'm fighting against in my head when all day, every day. And like, so when my friend wears like a hot dress, I go, oh, that's a cool dress, but I'm going, oh, isn't that ever darling, and
Right.
that's what I'm thinking in my head. And I'm like, Pete, Google translate that to cool guy. But so I think that I have evolved over time, and I think I am a little bit cooler, a little bit. So this next hour that I'm working on, I think is a representation of that. And then also I kind of feel like, maybe the stubble is a representation of that. And I also have, I have a lot of
New
gray
hairdo.
hair, and yeah, I have a new hairdo. I have gray hair. I'm letting it grow out. I think this next hour will be like, it's a little bit more real. It's a little bit edgier. And, I knew that it was working when my dad came out to see it, and he was like, it's a little edgier, and it's literally just a little, it's just like a tiny bit edgier, but I don't know.
What did he mean?
Like Pete Lee, not so nice, but like still nice, but not as nice.
Did he mean your materials edgier or your look?
He meant my materials a little edgier, but
Really?
literally I mean, to give you an example, I do a bit where I just talk about how great tits are, and I also talk about it from the perspective of like how much I love women, and how I have all these like I have all these evolved thoughts about women, and how I love like their heart and their soul and their future, but then also like, how do I balance that with like, God, I love your tits, and then I take like the whole perspective that I'm going through in the thing is like from a guy that respects women, that like, I don't want to look at your tits, but they're amazing. And I kind of circle the wagons all the way around it. And so I'm still truly speaking from my point of view, but I'm also talking about tits. And for a lot of people, they're just like, oh, he's talking about tits. And, but from my dad's point of view, he's like, Peter is discussing tits. He's not saying breasts, he's saying tits, and that is a little edgy. So
God, we grew up with different dads.
Oh yeah. Oh, tell me about your
my
dad.
dad is so different from your dad. Holy cow. Well, first of all, I haven't seen him in 20 years, but when I was a kid, he was more the guy like the one you talk about in your act, where you're like, my dad likes to hunt. And you're like, my dad does too, but for bargains. Like, I was like, that's adorable, but that's definitely not my dad. My dad would be the guy, look at her tits. He'd be that dude.
He'd be that guy. So you grew up, like, did you grow up from the perspective of, I guess that would be sort of like, cause you're a very kind person, and you're extremely kind. Did you feel like you developed that way because you were like sort of measuring up against this dad that was surly, or trying to get his approval, or I don't know what we're doing here.
I just never wanted to be him. I just wanted to be like, I never wanted to be him. I just wanted to be like my mom, basically. So, but I feel like Tommy's dad's got to be similar to your dad.
Yeah, my dad is likes bargains and going for walks, and I'm his twin. We play disc golf together. We're two retired men, and we've never ever discussed tits. That has never come up between the two of us, and it probably won't.
Your dad would never say it, would he, Tommy?
Yeah, well, he does. There was one time when I was very little. We were at a restaurant, and there was a server that had like some like I guess I was just staring and he had to like guide me. There's a really funny story that I forgot about how it goes.
You were staring at her and he was like, well, Tommy, we don't look at those. Or
yeah.
What was he?
It's like, you will never get that.
Oh God.
Yeah, the weirdest part about doing a bit about tits on stage is like women will come up afterwards now, and they're just like, well, you want to sign them? Do you want to see them? Do you want to what? And I'm like, whoa, this is the exact. I thought I was gonna get a bunch of like women's bookstore workers that would come up to me. Which is not my demographic, and they would be like, we didn't really appreciate that, and we need to talk about how you're problematic. But it's literally like, I think that the way that I'm doing the bit is it feels so inclusive, and it also feels freeing, because I think that so much of like so many of us are so in like we're so indoctrinated into this like sort of woke culture that we're forgetting we're not fun anymore. like we're taking a lot of advice from people that aren't fun, and I think we need to start we need to respect people, and that's the lesson that we need to take away from this, but we also need to stop listening to people that are less fun than us.
Oh, that's such a good. I say that on stage, except for the beginning. I say the second half, but
Yeah.
Don't even say the respect people part. No.
Yeah, don't even respect anybody.
Let's just have fun.
But I like that. Why are we not taking more advice from the people that are fun?
Well, I also think
Yeah.
like Pete, the way you write a bit or craft a bit, you do include like, so you can tackle a topic that might like you'd feel like, but you're such a good writer that I feel like they're like, no, it was great. He did good. I understood where he's coming from. And then I liked it more. And his beard looks amazing. Like, you got so many angles.
I just want to touch that beard.
So girls are actually showing you after the show, because I used to do a Mardi Gras bit and I would see dozens every show. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm not still doing that, but I just,
it's pretty wild. And also, I mean, I'm a monogamous animal just by nature. And so it's kind of weird where I'm like, all right, like, thank you. And I'm still being polite, and it's, it's great. But also I'm like, I don't want to see your tits after this.
Are they doing it during the show or after? Like when they come up to you?
This is like at the merch table.
Right.
It will happen. And here's also another tough dynamic to that, where and I mean, this is again like the human element of this thing, where most guys would they would have like beer commercial brain, where they'd be like, oh, tits. And the way my brain works is like, I think I have too much social intelligence. And so in that moment, I'm trying to balance out like I love my girlfriend. She's here at the show. Like, is she seeing this woman show me her tits? And how can I be the most respectful to her first? This other woman who's being vulnerable and showing me her tits, which is like one of the best gifts you can give anyone.
Right.
So I'm trying to like manage that. And then there's always a husband or a boyfriend that's standing there, and she's like, you can touch him. And I'm looking at that guy like, I can't. I understand that I can't. And I understand that she's being fun, and maybe she's a boundary stepper. And like this woman is literally using me to push your buttons because she found a Facebook post from your ex right now. And like, and I am in the middle of a fight that I don't want to be in. And so like, I wish that I could just have beer commercial brain and be like, oh my God, tits. But my brain is like, I got to take care of her. I got to take care of her. I got to take care of this guy. Also, he might turn into an angry monkey and kill me right now because I touched the tits.
Let me throw a wrench into this. What if your girlfriend wasn't there?
I still would. I like, to be very honest, and I'm not just saying this because I know that she'll listen. She will, like, she's amazing. Like, she'll literally be like, you're on a podcast, I want to listen.
Right.
And which is so amazing. But if she wasn't there, I still would be like, I'm in a thing and I can't.
What if you weren't with a girlfriend? You were single.
All right.
I'm trying to get this beard guy out of you.
Get the beard guy out. If I was fully single, not attached to anyone, and a girl came up and was like, without a guy, and was like, do you want to like, here's my tits, do you want to touch them a bunch?
I like how you added the bunch in.
A bunch. Oh yeah, I even made it cute. Like, not just like, do you want to touch him? Like, I was like, a bunch. I had to make it Minnesota. I Minnesota State Faired that one. All right. So the level. So we're gonna have to take another level out of this. So.
Okay, if you were Rob Little, what would you do? I think that's what he's asking.
Not
if
at
I was
all.
Rob Little,
I just want to see where your limit is, where your level is.
So here's the other thing that I would think about. I was just on stage. I just told everybody that I care about people and yada yada, and I do love tits. But I've also just, sold everybody on the fact that I'm a sensitive human being. And so would it be inconsistent to just just grabbing tits in front of a line full of people? you know,
Yeah.
like would I be being an inconsistent person? And like, cause yeah, there's like a monkey part of me that would be like, "Oh, tits," and then like it would literally be my bit. Like it would be that situation would be a metaphor for that bit. Like, how do I maintain who I really am without just diving into those tits and squeezing them, you know? And also, so I would be like, I'd probably be like, "Oh, thank you," and like
Right.
body language wise, I would be like, I'd be like, "Hey, so we're grabbing tits," and then my hands would be like tits,
Right.
and then so
That's where
so
I
now
am.
you're boiling it down to the base level, and so there is that. I mean, I'm a Leo, so you know there is that. It's a lion.
yeah.
You're a fire sign. Like
Right.
I am sort of a wolf in sheep's clothing. So like I do have that, but I also am slowed down in life in so many different ways by this swollen sense of empathy that I have for everything.
I am this. Okay. You probably think Tommy, I know Tommy thinks I'm the other way, but when it comes down to it, I'm the exact same way. I in my head, I'm like, oh my God, thank you for showing them. I want to touch them, but I'm not going to do it. And then they're like, just do it. And you're like, okay. And they usually want you to sign them. I'm like, well, she doesn't have a piece of paper. So I guess. And she didn't buy a DVD or anything. So but I hold it as I'm signing it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you really
yeah, you don't want to mess up your signature. I mean,
yeah, well, you're also like the font, it has to be tight for the font to really stick,
right,
or for the ink, the font.
Oh my
like
God.
That's so funny.
Yeah, we could talk about this all day, but I feel like we need to move on to something.
Wait, I want to know one more thing.
Okay.
Has Tommy ever signed tits?
I did it one time because I was with Rob Little.
Yep. I was gonna say I saw you.
I was awkwardly. It was like, it was also they were big fans of Rob, and then like, oh, there's this, you could, when I sell like a CD after him after the fact, so they were just like, and I was like, you don't even want me. Why am I getting dragged into this? You wanted Rob to sign. I mean, you have two, so big. It was awkward.
He couldn't be lying more right
they
now.
Are
Pete.
harder. It was hard to write on. My handwriting was bad, so after that, I'm like, oh, it doesn't even look good. It's not my normal signature.
Do you remember when Bill Clinton was like, I smoked weed, but I didn't inhale, and everybody was like, like Tommy's like, I had secondhand tits. I did not want them. They were delicious and wrong. I didn't like them.
Well,
by the way, Tommy,
as a performer, because you're like, well, I want them to want me, not want Rob, and then like, oh yeah, you get in here too. Like it was just an after that. I was like,
he's so full of crap. If they
jealous.
like me, they love Tommy too. And Tommy went on the road with me for years. And then he got too damn funny, and I was like, I ain't following you anymore. And so we're and now so but when we were on the road together, you wouldn't believe how many people still say, why aren't you with Tom? Why didn't you bring Tommy? And I'm just like, he's headlining his own. Why go watch his act?
He refuses to sign boobies.
Yeah.
But I want to back up for a second, Tommy. Did you feel like when Pete goes, I'm a wolf in sheep's clothing, that's so you even have the wolf shirt, for Christ's sake.
I wear a wolf sweater, but
yeah.
I wear a wolf sweater.
He does.
That's such a great line.
By the way, I agree. T-shirt under it. No, wait, that would be.
I agree about Tommy. The last time I think we worked together was Omaha. Or was that the last time we worked together? Because of the pandemic, that was the last time we worked together. And I remember just standing on that left-hand side wall of the Omaha Funny Bone, watching you going, how am I possibly going to go up after this and follow it?
Right.
like holy shit, he is so strong and so funny. And there's a punchline not every 8 seconds, every 4 seconds, and it's like it's beautiful and it's cute and it's special, and like just the energy that you have up there is so likable, along with jokes that are better than most of my jokes. And I'm just like, I'm just like, okay, so I got to open with my closer now, and 'cause I got to follow Tommy, and then I got to figure out how I'm going to follow that, and then follow that. You're amazing.
I learned everything from you guys. That was so nice of you to say, though. I really appreciate it. But it was always, I loved opening for both of you, and neither of you had any trouble following me. You're both, you're both ones that I can watch. Like, I remember opening for like a headliner, and sometimes you're like, oh, I'll watch them once and then I'm good. But I was just so entertained by both of you, where I'll sit in each show and just watch it again. It's so fun.
Well,
So,
that's an honor. And Rob, you're like a hurricane of funny. You're like, I know that you're doing a lot of technical things up there, and I know that your brain is working at a million miles per second, and like I think one of the worst compliments you can give somebody is like, you're just naturally funny. It just kind of like, you're just doing, and I'm like, you don't realize all the math that's happening, and all the timing and the I could go this way. Nope, I got to do this. And like, I can tell that you're doing that like at just this expert level up there, but you make it look so easy, and you're like a category 5 hurricane the whole time that you're up there.
And just like that, we have our newest guest that will be on every other week now.
nice things about us.
Yes. We need that, because I mean, me and Tommy, we love each other so much that after a while, it's just like, I ain't telling him again. I've told him so many times now. But it's nice to hear. I don't know. Do you remember the time we've only worked together? I think one time, Pete. It was at a college.
We worked together at a college, and wasn't it in Pennsylvania or something like that, or Delaware or something like that? It was one of those gigs where I think we were both doing a crazy amount of colleges, and it was one of those times where we hung out before the show, and then I think we had like a cafeteria burger, and then I went up before you, and then I had to get home. It was one of those times where I hadn't been home in like 18 days, and I was like crying tired on the road, and I knew that at night I had a 2-hour drive to get back to New York City, and I was like, Rob, I can't wait to work with you, but I was like, I got it. I'm going to go. And then I remember just like a magnetic pull. I remember like a magnetic pull that I wanted to, like, I was like, all right, I got to go. I got to get on the road. Like, cause otherwise it's going to get too late. And then I just watched like 5 minutes of your set, and I watched 15, and I watched 20, and I watched 25. And then I was like, Pete, you got to go. But I was enjoying it so much. And I should have just stayed for the whole thing, but I was enjoying it.
Wow. I don't remember that at all. I remember just us working together. I don't remember anything about the show or anything.
Yeah,
but that's a good memory, man.
Yeah, of course I make it emotional.
Rob was like, it meant nothing to me.
I want to ask you about something. I know we're kind of been going a while, but this has been so fun talking with you. You brought up, I watched one of your videos about your worst gig ever, and I feel, well, first of all, if you want to give a quick brief of what your worst gig was.
But was it the one in North Dakota with the high school lock-in?
Yeah.
Oh my God. If you're going to say that you did that gig one of the years, that's so fun. No, that's not what it is. So I went up, I had to go to Langdon, North Dakota, and there was this booker, named Tom Hansen. I'm just going to say his name. And, Tom was kind of like, he had a lot of great gigs, and then he had a lot of bad ones. But if you were young in comedy, he was just adamant that you were going to pay your dues and cut your teeth.
Right.
And so he was like, hey, I got a gig for you in Fargo, and I'm living in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll do the gig. And I talked to my then girlfriend, Bree, into going up to the gig with me. And, it was already at the point in comedy where she was kind of like, I think we should break up. You're getting too into this thing.
You're getting too into it.
You're getting too into comedy, and I'm feeling threatened by it more than I'm enjoying it. And I also think that I need to marry a guy that's going to be home, kind of a thing.
Sure.
And so
okay,
I'm like,
bye.
Yeah, I'm like, but what about, could we go up to Fargo together? We'll have a great night. And this is also back in the days, like pre-MapQuest, even like so. There's no directions. I like got my almanac out, and I was like, all right, taking a trip to Fargo.
Wow.
And or not almanac. What's the map? Atlas. I got my atlas out. I got my almanac out, and I was like, what do the farmers say what do the farmers say that May
time to grow corn?
Time to grow corn. So we get in the car, and she's already like, what is this bullshit? And we get up to Fargo, and the booker was like, when you get to Fargo, call me, and then I'm going to give you directions on how to get to the gig. So we get to Fargo, we like pull over, we have a little bite to eat. And I'm like, man, this gig is going to be so sweet. And then he's like, all right, so what you need to do is you need to jump back on I-29 and go 2 hours north to Langdon, North Dakota. And he's like, you're going to exit off of like, this exit. You're going to drive 11 miles into the country, and then you're going to come to a town, and there's a hotel, and this is the hotel. And so he's giving me like hitman instructions. like you're not going to know your destination until you get there. And already Bree's pissed at me, and she's like, where are we going? She's like, what did you drag me to? And then she's going down the cost analysis of it. She's like, so how much have you spent in gas already? And I was like, I think I'm up to like $53 in gas. And she's like, and then you're going to spend more. And then she's like, so you're going to lose money on this. She's like, call him and cancel right now, which in hindsight, I should have probably called him and been like, yeah, you
No
tricked
way.
me. I'm not doing this. But his comics were like, no, I'm going to do
Right.
the gig. I'm already the most of the way here. So we get all the way to this town. It winds up being like a 7-hour drive that I'm in with a redheaded girl that's mad at me. And we get to this hotel that is one of the shittiest hotels that I've ever been in. And the lady like knows my name when I get to the lobby, because I'm like one of two people that's staying there.
Right.
And then I'm walking down the hallway, and I don't even realize that there's another comic on the show. And Tommy, were you ever around when Eric Page was around doing comedy?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Eric Page is our friend that he died. And he was one of the most brilliant comedians and just a sweetheart. And like, I'm sure that there's elements of Eric's performance in what I do and also in what Tommy does. Like, he influenced every single Minneapolis comic that came up during that era.
Yeah, he was phenomenal.
He was phenomenal. And so Eric opens up the hotel door and he's like, Peter, is that you? I'm so scared. Tom took me to Fargo and then I called him and now I'm up here. And I was like, oh my God, Eric, I'm so sorry we're here. Bree, who's pissed off, was like, we could have fucking carpooled 7 hours. We could have just one tank of gas, like one car. And so we get into the hotel room. There's two people staying at this hotel. They gave us adjoining rooms with Eric so we could hear him cry. And we didn't know the details of the show. So I'm still like, where's the show? Is it in this hotel? What is it? So I call Tom again and he goes, go to the front desk. The front desk lady has the details for your show. And I'm like, what is this Easter egg hunt that we're doing?
Why didn't she tell you when you checked in?
I have no idea. I think everybody was like, they're going to go home. They're going to go home.
This isn't going to happen.
This isn't going to happen. So she was like, well, there's a high school lock-in. And so the show isn't until it was like 2 a.m. And we're like, well, what? And then also by the time we got to the town, we had like a meal in Fargo, but all the restaurants in this town were closed. Like it was like 7 p.m. and everything was closed. So we're hungry. I'm getting Brie vending machine food. And now we have to stay up until 2 a.m. at least to do the show and then get back there. So the front desk lady, she was like, well, I got to tell you the bad part about the show. And I was like, I think you already did.
More?
There's more to this? She goes, well, the reason why they're having comedians this year is because last year some students were in a car and they were drinking and driving and they all lost their lives.
No.
And so the students, now they want to make sure that they're safe. So they're locking everybody into the high school and they're making sure that they're safe. And then you guys are kind of like, hey, I know everybody's sad this year because of, these 4 people that were your best friends in this small town where there aren't even a whole lot of people. So 4 people is a lot. And you're going to do comedy. And I was like, oh, fuck. And when you dive into your notebook and you're like, what do I got? What do I got? So we get there, it's in the high school gym. And those bleachers where like the wooden ones where they would pull them out and be like, good chunk, good chunk, good chunk, good chunk. And the whole school is there because they have to be. They can't not be there. And the high school principal introduces me. There's a wireless mic, and I walk up and I'm somehow killing. I was like, wow, all right, this is the best part of the day. I'm out here. Bree has no access to me. She can't be mad at me right now.
How long have you been doing stand-up at this point?
I think I'd been doing stand-up for probably 2 years. So
Still pretty new.
still pretty new. And every single show that I did when it was going well, I was like, how is this happening? Like, cause like, you know, those shows where it's not going well at that point, and you're like, I have no ability to make this not going well and then turn it around to go well. Right.
Yeah.
So so I'm on stage and it's going well. And this was back in the day before the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. So the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, I really feel like was something that really shifted the self-esteem around being a redneck. Like prior to the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, if you were like, hey man, you're a redneck, they'd be like, hey, like, fuck you. That's hurtful.
Right.
You know, like you're calling me trash. And then after the Blue Collar Comedy Tour, it was like, I'm a redneck, I'm white trash. And I'm friends with Jeff Foxworthy now, and I've talked to him about that. I'm like, you literally gave self-esteem to people who previously didn't have self-esteem around their economic situation. And but anyway, so I said something, I had some punchline that was like, I was in a scenario with somebody that might have been a little bit of a redneck. And then I was like, oh, whatever, you dumb redneck. And then this kid just like stands up from the crowd and he goes, who are you calling a redneck? And then they had given them these door prizes when they came in that were like children's toys. And in the packet, in the little thing, there were Jacks and Super Balls. So Super Balls, these bouncy red balls, and then Jacks, if like people can't visualize that. Do you remember the beaches of Normandy, those things that they had so that like soldiers could hide behind or boats couldn't land and because they would rupture the hull? They're those, but miniature size. And so the kids,
And they're spiky.
they're spiky. So this kid just starts chucking, he chucks his Jacks and Super Balls, and everybody looked at him like, that is the best idea. Like, and they have all this emotion. They have all this sadness and anger about their friends that have died. And then I just said redneck, and their friend threw the thing. And then they just start chucking these Jacks and Super Balls, which that's a tricky dynamic because first of all, they fly through the air at different speeds. Second of all, when they land, there's two way different things. Like Jacks are metal and they're sharp and they're flying at you. Super Balls, they land and then they bounce in different directions.
Right.
There's a lot of defense that I'm playing in this moment. And I'm also trying to, for some reason, stand and deliver on the spot that I'm supposed to be on. And I'm just getting like, there's a hailstorm and I'm covering my eyes going, stop. Next thing I know, the principal takes the microphone out of my hand and she goes, children, which you do not want to be called when you're right. When you graduated from high school. She goes, children. She goes, if you do not shut up and listen to this comedian and be respectful, you will not graduate. Like, I will take your graduation away from you. And the whole crowd was like, whew. And then she's like, continue. And I was maybe 5 to 10 minutes into a half an hour that I was supposed to do. So I did a 25-minute filibuster where I just filled the time. I just got through it. And then I was like, ladies and gentlemen, Eric Page. And then Eric Page had to go out there for an hour. Oh. And he had this voice where he'd be like, oh, Peter, I'm like, he came up and he grabbed the mic and he goes, oh, Peter, I'm so scared. He goes, don't leave, please don't leave. And then I stood beside the bleachers and I watched him and he just kept checking in with me because I was his safe person. And yeah. And
okay, I got two things about this story.
Yes.
Two things. First, wouldn't it have been awesome if they were like back in the old days and they were throwing fruit because you guys were already so hungry?
Like, something more than vending machine food. Yes. Oh, no.
Peaches and apples. Oh,
I would have been eating it like Pac-Man. I would have been like, what?
And then the second thought I had listening to this story was you said you kind of had to limp through the next 20 minutes. To me, this would have turned out being my best gig ever because I'd have been holding that over their head the whole damn time going, hey, you guys want to graduate? You might want to start laughing at these jokes. And then every joke's crushing with these kids.
Rob can
that's-
threaten an audience. He gets the best
Yeah.
response. There needs to be some type of hostage situation.
You're like, maybe I'll
That
go a little
crush.
longer till I get the laugh I want on this.
That is so beautiful and perfect. And it's now been, so I've been doing comedy for 23 and a half years. So it's been 21
Same
and a
as
half
me.
years. Yeah. Yeah. Exact same.
What
Exact
day?
same.
What day did you
Uh,
start?
It was January 18th, I believe. I know that it was 1998. It was 1998, and it was Martin Luther King Day. So
Holy
whatever.
crap! We started literally. I was March 8th, 1998.
Oh wow.
Very first.
Oh,
Wow, that's awesome.
wow. And Chad Daniels started it was like December 15th of 97. So he started a month
Oh.
before me.
That's great.
Oh my-
I was December of 77.
Wow.
Chad Daniels,
Shut
the
up,
baby.
Tommy.
Yeah.
That's awesome that we were all that close. Were you at that Montreal audition in Cincinnati when we were at Go Bananas? I know Chad and I were there, and I want to say you were there too.
I don't think I was there, but I do remember talking to Chad on the phone about it. But tell
Chad
me
got
about
us
that.
so drunk. He's like, dude, we got to be doing. We were doing the tomato juice and vodka, whatever that is. I don't drink, so I don't really even know what the hell that drink's called.
Like
What
a
is
Bloody
it?
Mary?
Bloody
or
Marys.
Yeah.
We're hammering Bloody Marys. He's like, you ain't gonna get. You're not even gonna feel the alcohol. And I'm like, I'm not. And I'm just like lit. I am lit. And I'm just like, I know this audition's gonna be horrible after that. And then I was like, I'll never play this club after this. And Chad told it's all because of Chad. No,
all
Chad
'cause-
screwed me on that.
It's all because of Chad.
But we had
oh,
the
God.
best time.
Chad Daniels, I mean, he is and was a wild man. He is now a wild man that knows himself and picks his spots. But yeah, Chad is Chad back in the day. I remember having some mornings where I woke up after hanging out with him and I was like, what just happened? We did this documentary that you can watch on Amazon called I Need You to Kill, where Louis Lee from Acme took Chad and Tom Segura and I over to Asia. And then we all did stand up in basically what was like the beginning of the comedy scene over there. Like,
yes, I've been watching Malaysian comics lately because they were.
Yeah.
I had some guys say you should come over and do Malaysia, so I started watching it, and I'm like, holy crap! They sound like us from the like early '80s almost. They're like they feel dated already.
It's an interesting style because I think that their style sort of had to follow the same evolution as American comedy. So you'll see comedians over there that are like Singapore people sound like this.
Yes.
Malay people sound like this.
That's 100% accurate, man.
It's total. But I think somebody that I was talking to, they were like, oh, that comic's kind of hacky, and I was like, well. But you also gotta understand that that's an evolution of comedy in this country. And like, without that bit, they like you can't get to the more nuanced stuff. It has to go through all of this. Like the fire has to burn. The fire has to burn all the way through the countryside to get to the town, kind of a thing, And so, I was almost like, please just understand this. Like, our country went through that. We had all of that, and then now it's this. And but yeah, the comedy scene. By the way, you got to go over to Singapore and Malaysia. Like you,
I might do it then. All right,
it's so much fun. I mean. I would wait a half a year for hopefully COVID will get exhausted, but the comedy scene over in like Hong Kong, Singapore, Bangkok has a great comedy scene. It's so much fun. And the Chad Daniels story. So we're in Hong Kong and they have this hill that the main comedy club there is. They have this basically like replica of McDougal Street, and they couldn't do like the Comedy Cellar Hong Kong. So it's this guy, Jamie Gong, that he has a comedy club there. And so it's like all the bars that are on McDougal Street, except for it's on this hill. And the hill, it's like a mountain where there's like almost like a terrace where the snow groomer, like the snow cat would go up to go groom the hill. They have sort of that, and that's how the streets go up. And then there's just all these bars on this hill. And it's one of those things where if you just got drunk and fell down, you'd just fall down the hill. And so we're hammered in Hong Kong. and I just sense that Chad's going to do something crazy. So I take out my camera and I start filming him. And I think that stoked the fire. He went and grabbed one of those plastic trash can lids, and like, we're Minnesota people, Wisconsin people. So it was almost like one of those saucer sleds that you'd go down a snow hill, and it had just rained. So there's all this like moisture and oil all over the asphalt hill. And he just jumps head first and he slides down, and he goes probably a football field and a half down this hill. And then at the very end, you see this taxi come to like a gentle stop in front of him. And so he almost got run over like a squirrel.
Oh.
Wow. He's wild.
He is wild. He's a wild man and insanely funny.
Yeah. This couldn't have gone better today.
This is so much fun.
Phenomenal, Pete. I mean, I haven't talked to you, I can't remember, since that college gig.
It's been it feels like it's been forever. I remember I ran into you one time in Columbus. I was doing a college and you were doing the Funny Bone, and then we got to like have a drink afterwards or some chicken fingers or something. But other than that, like maybe a NACA or something like that. But it's been really fun to catch up. And I'm so happy that how great is it that, not that the pandemic happened, but that we figured out all this Zoom technology for podcasts. Cause now you can, it used to be people would be like, hey, next time you're in Cincinnati, come do my podcast. And now we can do this. And it's actually way better audio visual on everybody's end than it would have been otherwise.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You would have had to set up like a 3-camera shoot to toggle back and forth. And now
Rob's got to travel around with a memories board. Can you imagine that? Bring that thing to Cincinnati every time he's got, oh boy.
It's all projection. It's all
That's right. It's green screen memory.
Yeah, it's just it's your background. Oh my God, this has been so much fun. Yeah, we have to do it again. I would love to be a regular guest on your pod.
Hopefully you'll get as many appearances on the Tom Foolery show as your Tonight Show, but your Tonight Show keeps going up, so I don't know if we'll ever keep up with it.
Hey, step up. We gotta make I'm the permanent co-host. I'll be here next week.
I want you to mention all the stuff that you want people to know about.
So please watch my special. It's on Showtime. You can do it Showtime on demand or Showtime anytime. Showtime's kind of unique in that it's a TV network, but it also is a streaming platform. So this is going to be up for the next 2 years. It's called Tall, Dark, and Pleasant. You can go under their comedy section and watch it. I want to promote this weekend. I'm going to be at the Comedy Cellar. I don't know when this is coming out. I'll be in the Comedy Cellar in New York. The weekend after that, I'll be at the Blue Room in Springfield, Missouri. Weekend after that, Mohegan Sun in Connecticut. The weekend after that, you can fuck off. It's a college gig. Yada, yada, yada. Des Moines Funny Bone, October 15th and 16th. You can get all those dates at petelee.net, and then also follow me on social media at Petelee. That's the if you're ever wondering if a comedian wants you to follow them, this is literally the currency and the it's like literally our fame score that we get judged by other networks that are going to possibly give us opportunities. Like if you're listening to this and you don't follow, Tommy or Rob, please follow them. Cause like we need your following, and don't unfollow us. You're going to help our careers if you follow us and you like our posts and you share them and you comment and you hit that little weird ribbon thing that saves them. Cause it all goes into the algorithm and it helps you get your score up.
Yes.
Wow. Awesome. Pete, I just want to be buddies with you all the time now.
Yes.
This was awesome.
Dude, this was so good, awesome. Man. Friends, this is great.
Friends.
We're friends.
Well, I definitely think we need to have you back, because I know Tommy did a ton of research and he wanted to ask you all these questions, and I kind of took over again. I do it every time. I don't mean to, but it was so fun asking you, and you played so well with it. So
this is fun. Now we're teasing the follow-up episode.
Yeah,
yes.
It'll be exciting. That was a phenomenal first episode with Pete Lee.
The whole bit about his worst gig ever was killing me.
Amazing.
It was awesome. But I mean, we got to have him back.
Them throwing the jacks was funny, because I did a high school lock-in. There was nothing to throw, but it went so poorly that it's something similar to that. They just all slowly started to look at their phones. That's like the new generation of like, we don't like you. And so I would just watch a room of 200 students slowly all start to, I was like, no, I've lost you. Oh boy, please throw jacks at me at least. Where are you at this week, Rob?
Oh my God. I'm like this week, every single night, I'm doing 3 nights in the Villages in Florida. So those are fun, crazy shows with a lot of older folks. And then Thursday, I'm doing the Orlando Improv. And then this weekend, I'm doing another new club for me, Porky's Comedy Club in St. Cloud, Florida. So all Florida gigs, and I'm hitting all over the place. So there's plenty of places for people to see me this week.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you, buddy?
My next show is September 10th in Grand Forks, North Dakota at Spuds. It's a new club, the Prohibition Comedy Club. So I'll be out there, and they just finally put the link for tickets out there.
Cool.
So that's where I'm going to be. But wow, I can't believe this was a long episode. This was all Pete Lee. It was so amazing just to hear about all this stuff.
So we're turning this into 2 episodes, right, buddy?
Yeah. So this
okay.
This right now you've finished part 1. We're closing it out. We always want to thank you again for listening to A Little Tom Foolery. Check our YouTube, our Patreon, and Instagram. Please follow us on all platforms. Subscribe, and we love you. And this has been another episode of Little Tom Foolery. Bye, fools.
Bye.